Okay, we're back up here. We're quiet. Okay, so far we've learned how to solve a quadratic by factoring and by square rooting. Unfortunately, those don't always work. Sometimes we can't factor and sometimes we can't square root. Okay, so then we have the quadratic formula. Okay, the quadratic formula is derived by completing the square with a quadratic that's in standard form. It works for all quadratics in standard form. Okay, you need to memorize it. It's very important to memorize. Okay, so we sing it. We're going to sing it a lot in class. Okay, it helps us to remember it. It's a way to help with our memory, those of us who can't. Okay, so I'm going to sing it to you. It's just a way, you can do it to any song you'd like, just that's the sound, the song we're singing it to. Okay, so it's x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Of course, we're going to do it a lot today. Okay, so we're going to sing it together now. Everyone's going to sing it together as a choir because we're going to bring in some music curriculum into this. Okay, we are all going to sing it. If you choose not to sing it, then you're going to choose to sing a solo. So you're going to sing it with us or by yourself. You get to choose. Okay? I'm going to be watching to make sure you're all are singing it to get it stuck in your head so they memorize this. Okay? Because you need to know this in order to be able to solve these quadratics. Okay? So ready, begin. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, that's the quadratic formula. Okay. So now you need to not just know the quadratic formula, but now you need to know how to use it. So we're going to demonstrate how to use it. Okay. So you're going to write the equation in standard form. As always, we want the quadratic in standard form, and it needs to be equal to 0. Okay. So I need to move this 2x to the other side. So I add 2x to both sides. That's going to give me 3x squared plus 2x minus 1, and it equals to 0. So now my quadratic is in standard form, just like this. Then I have to identify the a, b, and c values. Okay, the a value is the number in front of the x squared. So class, what is the a value here? 3, just the 3, you don't need the variable. The b value is the number with the x. So what is the b value here, class? 2. Okay, the c value is the number by itself. What's the c value? Very good. Make sure you take -1. It has to be a negative. Okay, now we're going to plug it into the quadratic formula. Okay, but before you do that, we're going to have to write it out. Okay, the more you write it, the more you learn it. Okay, and you have to memorize it. So we're going to sing it yet again. Okay, I'll pull it up right here. Okay, everyone again together, or you get to sing a solo. Okay, so ready? X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Very good, very good. Okay, so we're going to write it out. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. It's a song that we learned when we were kids, or maybe you didn't. Okay, so now we plug it in. X equals negative. It's negative b. When I plug a positive into a negative, it becomes negative. So it's negative 2 plus or minus the square root. B is 2, so b squared is 2 squared. Minus 4 times a, which is 3. Times c, which is negative 1. And it's all over 2 times a, which is 3. Any questions over that? Okay, so you plug it in. Once we plug it in, then we have to simplify. That's the last step, is just to simplify, number 4. So we get x equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root. 2 squared is 4. Now, this is the part we're going to struggle with. Negative 4 times 3 times negative 1. Okay, is that a positive or a negative? Okay, this should be positive. 4 times 3 is 12, times 1 is 12. And a negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, so you need to make sure that you check your signs right here. Okay, this is where you're going to make the biggest mistakes. If you've gotten something wrong, it's usually because you have missed making this a positive. You kept it negative. Okay, so make sure that you are checking the signs right there. Then we go all over 2 times 3 is 6. Then I keep simplifying. I get negative 2 plus or minus the square root. 4 plus 12 is 16 all over 6. Okay. From there, I keep going. Do I know the square root of 16? 4. So it's going to be negative 2 plus 4 over 6 and negative 2 minus 4 all over 6. So from here, separate the plus and minus. So you're going to have negative 2 plus 4 and negative 2 minus 4. And then do the math. So give me x equals negative 2 plus 4 is 2 over 6. Negative 2 and negative 4 is negative 6 over 6. So that's going to be x equals 2 divided by 2 over 6. I can reduce to 1/3. And negative 6 over 6 is negative 1. Any questions over that? We're all good? Okay, next one. Yes. You can use that, but you have to multiply it out. So you'd have a b value that'd be 0. If you had like 4x squared minus 7, it'd be a would be 4, b would be 0, and c would be the constant. Okay. Okay, so you need to start again by putting this in standard form. So you have to add the x squared to both sides. This is going to give me x squared minus 3x plus 1 equaling 0. Okay, from there we have to identify the a, the b, and the c. So again, the a value is the number in front of the x squared. So the a value is 1. Okay, the b value, very good, is the number in front of the x. And the c value is the number by itself. Okay, now we're going to plug it into our quadratic equation, or quadratic formula. So you got to write it out. We're going to sing it again. Everyone ready? Okay, I'll put it back up so you can see the, okay? Let's sing it again, everybody. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Very good, very good. So we're going to write it out. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, then we plug it in. So x equals, when I plug negative 3 into negative b, it makes it a positive 3. This gives me negative 3, I square it, minus 4 times my a value, which is 1, times my c value, which is 1. And it's all over 2 times 1. Once I've plugged it in, then I can simplify. Okay, so I'm going to have x equals 3 plus or minus the square root. Negative 3 squared is positive 9. And remember, we want to check. Negative 4 times 1 times 1. Is that a negative or a positive? Negative. And it's just negative 4. And it's all over 2 times 1, which is 2. Okay, we're going to keep simplifying. I'm going to get x equals 3 plus or minus the square root. 9 minus 4 is 5, all over 2. Do I know the square root of 5? Nope. Okay, so we can just leave it as x equals 3 plus the square root of 5 over 2, and 3 minus the square root of 5 all over 2. You can plug those into your calculators to get an approximate amount. We're going to leave it in the exact amount right now. Any questions over that? Okay, we're going to do the next one. Okay, so let's go. Okay, again, we want to set it equal to 0. So we have to add the 12 to both sides. That's going to give me 2x squared plus 8x plus 12 and equals 0. Okay. Then we identify the A, B, and C. So what's the A value? What number's in front of the x squared? 2. Valerie, what's the B value? B is the number in front of the x, which is 8. Good. And then class, what would the C value be then? 12. Any questions over that? Okay, we're going to sing the quadratic formula again. Let's this time try to do it without looking at it. Ready? Ready, begin. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over. Oh, good. Good. So you got the all over 2a. Okay. We're just going to keep singing it. Every time I see you, we're singing it. Okay, so then we plug it in. X equals negative b. We're going to plug in negative. We're going to plug an 8 into a negative b. It becomes negative 8. Then plus or minus, oopsie. Plus or minus the square root of 8 squared minus 4 times 2 times 12. And it's all over 2 times 2. Okay, you guys also with me? Rachel got it written down? Okay, good. Okay, so we have negative 8 plus or minus the square root. 8 squared, class, what's 8 squared? 64. Okay, then we need to make sure if that's a negative or a positive. Is that negative or positive? Okay, there's only one negative, so it stays negative. If there's 2 negatives, then it's a negative, or then it becomes positive. There's 3 negatives, it stays negative. Odd number of negatives keeps it, makes it positive. Even number, odd number of negatives keeps it negative. An even number of negatives makes it positive. So it's negative 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 12 is 96. All over 2 times 2, which is 4. Then I have negative 8 plus or minus the square root. 64 minus 96 is negative 32 over 4. Do I know the square root of negative 32? No, I do not. Do I know the square root of a negative number? It's imaginary. Okay, since there's a negative inside there, it needs to have an imaginary number. So it's going to be x equals negative 8 plus I square root 32 over 4 and negative 8 minus I square root 32 all over 4. No, because you'd have to be able to simplify all 3 of them. Okay, so only if this could be simplified, and the 32 is inside the radical, so you can't. Any other questions? Okay, so that's as far as we are going to go with that. Okay, everyone. E, we're going to do E in your pairs. Make sure you can do this. Okay, so again, we're looking for the x-intercepts when we solve a quadratic. So you're going to replace g of x with 0 and then solve it. So I want you guys all to solve that right now. A would be 3. B would be 4. C would be 3. So I plug it in. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So you get negative 4, then plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4 times 3 times 3 all over 2 times 3. Then we substitute then we simplify. 16. This should stay negative, and 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 3 is 36. So you need to stop talking now. 16 minus 36 is negative 20. Again, I have a negative here. So that should be an imaginary number. So I have x equals negative 4 plus I square root 20 all over 6, and negative 4 plus, not plus, minus I square root 20 all over 6. Any questions over that? Okay, let's get our homework out. 4.3a homework is due on Friday. What's due tomorrow? 4.2.